I embrace everything that happens. If something messes up, I try to see the beauty in that. I try to hold on to that sort of raw moment of happenstance where most people would view it as a mistake. And I often tried to take that as a new, like a fork in the road and a new kind of area to explore, learn a lot from mistakes.
Colton, welcome to Shaping Your Pottery, and share with me what is something you love besides making pottery?
That's a big question. My mind initially goes to nature, the outdoors, my home where I grew up in southern Utah, the red rocks, geology, the flora and fauna in the area, just being able to go outside, explore, be free, stretch my legs, get some sun, just kind of escaping society and going on a hike, exploring a new canyon, mountaintop. That that is definitely something I really enjoy. I like science. I read and research, do a bit of research in everything from macro to micro biology and physics and stuff like that. And it's mostly just for fun. I don't get too deep, but I like to stay informed of like discoveries and in science and biology, space, computers, kind of nerdy, but I enjoy it. But I also just like riding my bike. I try to ride my bike everywhere, and that's all I can think of for now. Friends, of course. I mean, I could really
Absolutely.
just go on. I could just keep going on about things I like outside of pottery. But yeah, I think I've kind of summed that question up as best as I could.
Absolutely love it. So tell me
Yeah.
a story how you got started in ceramics.
So, well, I guess just out of natural curiosity, wanted to try something new. My high school ceramics teacher, Mr. Evenson, hooked me. And then my first year of college, Shane Christensen was another formative influence in my life. And they just created awesome environments that made me want to keep coming back. It was music they played, their attitude, their demeanor in clouds, and it just kept me coming back. And it's just pottery is kind of this every step of the way presents you with a puzzle, so a little something to figure out, whether it's how to hold your rib or how to throw just a little bit taller or how to correct a mistake. And I just really fell in love with figuring out these puzzles, trying to solve all these little mind games, if you will. It was just a really good way to exercise the brain. And it was really good for me. I got hooked and I couldn't set it down. I was definitely still addicted to it. So yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So tell me the story about when you did a residency at Belger Crane Yard Studio.
Yeah. Well, that was actually a very form like it really advanced my career as an artist. I learned a lot from the community there. People there were amazing. The students and community members renting studios, they were awesome. And it totally changed my aesthetic and what I do. And for that, I'm super grateful and can't say enough about the advancement in my career. But spiritually, personally, emotionally, it was one of the darkest times of my whole life, if not the worst. Not a lot of people say this because there's such a big, powerful name in ceramics, but I know a lot of people feel the same way. Everyone's just afraid to say that it's a shitty organization and they're cold-hearted bastards that run it. I'm sorry. I need to be honest. No one else dares to say this stuff because, like, you burn bridges with those people, and they very well could throw you under the bus. And while you're there, they're always dangling the possibility of your resident artist show at the end of the year. If you don't behave, not going to give you the show. But being a resident there definitely felt, or it definitely was indentured servitude. It was not anything less. And I don't want to be negative. I think this should be a positive experience for us and the listener, but I also have to be honest, because I don't think that I haven't heard anyone publicly admit these things, but I guess I'm speaking for them. I'm speaking for all the other people that, have gone through it and have had a hard time, because I know there are others. But yeah, it was tough. It actually there's some trauma there regarding the, dealing with certain members of the staff that just rattled me to my core. Never been treated like that before. But like I said, the community there was awesome, and I benefited a lot as an artist. And hey, what better material could I ask for to make art about than trauma? Perfect. That's like
So
fuel for
yeah.
this.
So how did the community really help you with evolving your pottery?
So there's a lot of people there doing funky, interesting, contemporary techniques that I'd never seen firsthand. I'd always seen in a magazine or a book, but here there are people like, throwing, odd things into their clay, staining the clay, and just using different techniques that I'd never personally been exposed to. And then just the students there were just so lovely, full of life, and just really inquisitive, really nice. So yeah, there were like people renting studios and students as well that were just really great.
So what advice would you give to someone trying to get into a residency for themselves?
Make sure that you have a lot of money saved up, and or have like some other income going to be coming in as you are there, and talk to current resident artists and past resident artists. I would maybe say you might get a more honest answer from the past resident artists, because the current resident artists are really kind of under pressure to put on a nice face and pretend everything is dandy, in order to keep the peace in their environment. But the past resident artists might be more inclined to give you a real kind of account of their experience. So just reach out, see who's been there, and contact them through Instagram, email, whatever. And ask them about their experience. But yeah, there's not many residencies in ceramics that really kind of support you, get underneath you, and lift you up. They are all pretty expensive in terms of, cost of living and kind of making ends meet while you're there. So I think maybe have some savings beforehand, or, a side job if you can manage that. It's tough. Ceramics is tough, if you haven't figured that out already.
So let's talk about your pottery. In one sentence, can you tell me what you make?
Yeah, I make sculptural vessels inspired by biology and geology.
So tell me a story how you started making the sculptures that you make today.
It has been a evolutionary process where I'm just led by instincts. Just, I think the first experience with clay, it's just picking it up in my hands, squishing it through my fingers, and getting this like stress relieving effect. Very tactile, and just kind of, you could just lose yourself in this visceral, this very meditative wheel throwing process. I just kept going, following my instincts, doing something that felt good, and my forms got better. They got more abstract. And in during my undergrad at Northern Arizona University, I just kind of got, I would say, directed, or encouraged to make certain forms, or, I've got positive feedback about certain things I was doing. And so I just kind of stuck to those. It's basically been positive feedback. It's been so. it's been this evolution in that started with these wheel thrown round basic pots. They slowly got larger, they got more complex, asymmetry is getting involved. And it's really just something that grew out of experimenting with clay. There's always something new you can do every time you throw clay down onto the wheel. And I embrace flaws, maybe accidentally swiping the side with a rib in a way that creates a nice line. And then I'll try to replicate that. So there's a lot of mistakes that I then try to mimic or replicate that then I bring into my aesthetic language. But slowly and surely, it's just been a one step after another. Things are getting more asymmetrical. And then I fully moved on to coil building and then mixing wheel and coil. And it's just been a kind of a quest for understanding the entirety of the medium, wanting to know everything it can do, just being fascinated at its capabilities and way of it can mimic other materials. And so it's really just been a quest and curiosity, I would say.
I love that. Shaping Nation, it's important to, if you mess up with your pottery, to maybe take those mistakes and try to apply it into your pottery, see where that takes you. And also, always be curious on what you are making, because see where that can take you. So
Exactly.
now you mentioned that you follow your instincts. Can you give me an example of when this paid off for you?
So, well, every day, really. Well, I guess it's a double-edged sword. It can harm you, but it can help. And I think mostly it's going to help. And it's just it's really more about a feeling as opposed to a plan. So the things that I make are very much instinctual as opposed to planned out. I often begin not even knowing what I'm doing. I just have this instinctual feeling or urge to coil build, or I have an urge to distort the clay in some sort of way that I thought of last night or I saw somebody else do. And I just need to investigate it. I need to understand how to do it. I need to throw my own take in there. So I'm just kind of riding on this feeling or this urge to just interact with clay instinctually. And then surely I'm always amazed at what comes out of that.
So can you give me a simplified explanation on the process of how you make your sculpture?
Yeah. So, like nature, there's a lot of spontaneity. There's a lot of, I don't know, just different elements interacting with one another to create a mountain, or a valley. Wind and water are constantly carving away. And I kind of feel that as an artist, as I'm instinctually making, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm sort of discovering the form over time and letting it unfold. It's almost more of a collaboration between me and clay, not really like I've planned everything out and made every decision. I'm sort of there as a catalyst to sort of let things happen. And I am sometimes I feel like an observer of the piece developing. Essentially, I'll put clay down and start coil building. And sometimes it starts in just one center area, or sometimes I'll have three parts that I'll build up from and then connect. And I just kind of see where it goes. I just coil build. And I guess my technique and how I coil build just allows me to change the form almost like an interpretive dance. It's like I feel this way because of the sound, the music that I'm hearing. So I'm going to move my body in, a specific way according to the music. And the way I make is similar. I'll just move the walls and bend them and shape them according to how I feel and let it unravel, let it unfold. And yeah, like I said, I'm always surprised at what happens in the end.
So what advice would you give to someone that wants to start coil building their own sculptures?
Mm, just go for it. be brave. And I think the biggest revelation I ever had is it's as simple as just squishing clay where you want it to go. Honestly, it's not technical. Coil building, you can create technically look technical looking objects, but the process is never technical. If you just stop before it collapses, let it set up and keep going, you can make any form you can think of. Don't, don't not try a form because you don't think you have the skills. Just go for any form that you can think of right now. And just realize that it's as simple as squishing the clay where you want it to go. You move your hands, the clay is going to listen and it's going to stay exactly where you put it. So just squish it where you want it to go. It's as simple and silly as that. And I that's my advice just because I thought that I had to like learn all these other techniques. Like I'm a classically trained potter and I had to like walk before I ran, but you can just, I think, kick the gate open and just start running right from square one if you really want to. And I've seen it happen. I've seen beginners just start making amazing things because they weren't limiting themselves at all. So just throw out those self-imposed restrictions and make exactly what you want to make. Clay is awesome. It lets you do anything and you don't have to be advanced.
So you kind of froze that last bit of it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, clay is awesome. It lets you do anything and you don't have to be advanced.
Perfect. I love it. So Shape Nation, if you want to start coil building, go start coil building. And go make whatever design, sculpture, whatever you want. Just start doing it. Just do
Yeah.
it because that's how you start getting better at it. I love that so much. So let's talk about discovering your voice. Can you tell me about the moment when you knew you were heading in the right direction with your pottery?
Yeah, I think it was getting some encouragement from my professors who were my professors at Northern Arizona University who are assholes. And I say this endearingly. They're really great people, but they'll give it to you in a critique if you deserve it. They're not going to sugarcoat anything. They're brutally honest. And so, when I got a green light from them, it was super encouraging and made me go as far as I have gone today, made me stick with it. So yeah, it was just encouragement from professors goes a very long way.
Love that. So, what besides from the encouragement from your professors, what do you think helped you the most with discovering your voice?
I guess it would just be listening to intuition, having fun is what it really takes. The genuine fascination with clay and actually wanting to understand its nature and its character at the very core in all the things that it can do and what it's capable of, all the little nuances about how clay operates and responds to your touch are really amazing. It's a super complex material, but at the same time, it's super simple. You can understand it very quick if you just squish it through your fingers. But it can take 10 years to really understand the complexity of stoneware to porcelain to earthenware and how it responds under fire and under touch and pressure and everything. So just comes from genuine curiosity and wanting to solve all these little puzzles in form and surface.
I love that. Shape Nation, you got to get curious about the pottery you're making because the more curious you get, the better your pottery is going to end up in the end. I love that so much. So, what is something you are doing to evolve your voice even further?
It's what has put me on this path of evolution. It is something I'm doing is kind of setting goals for myself or playing a game. And the game is, okay, I've never stacked two pieces together on the wheel. I want to know how to do that. I want to uncover that mystery, spend some time doing it. Okay, I get it. Great. Now what? I want to stack pieces and distort them. Okay, I understand that. Now I want to stack pieces, distort them, and coil build. And so what it becomes is these are all just stepping stones. They're all different rings on a ladder. You're just climbing higher and higher. You can always add to your library of knowledge and understanding in ceramics. So I'm just trying to soak that in. And there's just there's just no limit to what you can learn. And so I'm always just trying to figure out what's that the next thing. What do I not know? What's the limit of my comfort zone? And then I'm gonna put my toe outside of that and then step outside of it, and then expand that. And it's just my circle of knowledge just kind of keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. The more I kind of dance around that border of where I'm comfortable.
That is really, really powerful. I love that so much. So, as we're coming to a close today, what is one thing you want to hammer home with my audience today?
Well, I am just a humble guy. I don't claim to be some brilliant genius of an artist. I think it's important to understand that all of your idols out there who appear to be brilliant artists, they're all people struggling in their own way. They get bored. There's times in their life that it's boring, stupid, silly, beautiful, everything in between. Um, so I just would like to say to everybody to be kind to yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time for being tired or, procrastinating. Just follow your intuition and do what you love. And it helps to be a little bit stubborn, and to not give up on anything. You gotta definitely take the hits and keep moving forward. But just follow your intuition, do what you love, and don't talk bad to yourself.
That is some excellent parting words of advice. Colton, it was so great chatting with you today. Where can my audience go and learn more about you?
Where can you go to learn more about me?
Yes.
Gosh, I don't know. I would say Instagram's probably the best place. You can you can kind of see how my work's evolved from wheel thrown atmospheric wood and soda firework to where it's at now, which is like mid range and low range electric kiln fired work. So it's gone in this fun kind of evolutionary path. And you can kind of see that as you scroll down. And I kind of get a kick out of that because being inspired by biology, I like that idea of evolution.
So, and what is your Instagram handle?
Just my first and last name, exactly how it is, Coleton Lunt.